Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with a collab for the ages. It's myself, FightinCowboy, Ki11er, and TeftyTeft all joining together to discuss our experience at the Borderlands 3 gameplay reveal event. But what I want this video to focus on is our experiences with both Zane and Amara to give you guys an accurate comparison between the two characters, how we liked each one, how we foresee them, and also our thoughts on Flak as well as Moze in the future. So I do hope you guys enjoy this collaboration. I'll have a link to all of their stuff in the description down below. Do check all these fine folks out, and I'll catch you guys later. Also, this gameplay is by FightinCowboy, so credit to him. Once again, his channel is down below. Big thanks to him for saving you all from the face cam gameplay.
Yeah, it's interesting thinking about, like, is there going to be too much content?
No such thing. In a AAA game, we'll take more.
Yeah, right? It's crazy though, looking at it, like it's gonna be a big boy game, and a lot of, like you said, a lot of characters that they're managing, a lot of storylines, and I wonder if, like, at the end of a gameplay or a playthrough, it's gonna feel overwhelming again, just like all the different things that you could have done or didn't do.
Maybe that's why they saved the Guardian rank for the end, because if you're just bouncing all that at first, it could be overwhelming.
Well, the characters too. Like I know not everybody played both, but I mean there was such an immense difference between Zane and Amara. Like you could easily do a playthrough. I mean you could do multiple playthroughs with one character and have completely radically different builds every time, and it's like one of those things I'm like, man, there's gonna be.
So how many people here played both characters?
I got to play both.
You got to play both?
I did.
Okay. Ki11er?
So all of us did. Yeah.
Oh, so everyone but me. Okay.
Oh no.
All right. So
we get to tell Matty about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I played as Amara personally, and I thought she was just like a powerhouse, man. The phase slam felt good. I thought phase lock was more well equipped for if you were playing co-op, and then the phase blast was solid. So I felt very comfortable with her, and I only messed around in her skill tree that tinkered with rush and reload speed. For you guys, when you played as Amara, which did you use? And since you played as Zane, could you compare the two a little bit and give me an idea on what I missed out on and how they differentiate?
Yeah, so I did the same as you. I played around with everything a little bit. Phase lock phase grasp as it is now. It's basically just phase lock. But phase grasp seemed really OP, like especially for a solo playthrough, like the big guys with the shield. You were like, nope, get up in the air and die. But I like the blast, the astral projection one a lot more. Just looking through that skill tree, I feel like you could do a lot of really crazy shit with it.
Right.
And what was interesting is Zane. I mean, honestly, Zane seems like he's going to be a disgusting powerhouse. Just because he's very tactical, and like with the whole advantage of you can basically sacrifice your grenades to have 2 action skills. And so you have your sentinel, and then you also had either a shield or a digiclone. And both of those are kind of more defensive-oriented options with some offensive utility. But like going down into the trees, there's some really, really crazy stuff Zane can do. Like he can put out his barrier, and the barrier gains the effect of the legendary shield. So, imagine just a barrier with like the sham effect or the B effect that everyone is able to fire through. And then his digiclone's final ability was his clone gains a copy of his gun, and we've seen what people can do with like double Norfleets. So it's like. Like there's going to be some. I think if you want more ability-based gameplay, I think Amara is the stronger contender, even though she only has 1 skill. But given all the synergy with grenades for Zane, with weapon, with shield, how that actually complements with your skills, I think he's going to be more of a fan favorite because of the item synergy.
He sounds awesome. Like that sounds, honestly, and I usually play a Siren every time I've played Borderlands, at least in my first playthrough. But that sounds way more appealing than Amara to me. Just the idea of balancing 2 abilities and just ditching the grenades, because I feel like you could live without that, especially with how many guns this game coughs out and how different all of them are. And especially when you have like the nuclear effect, which can explode one enemy and spread the next explosion to another.
Right,
you can just make use of that and try to have that sub in as your grenade if you were really missing
it. And that's the crazy thing. Like you're sacrificing the ability to throw grenades, but you're not really sacrificing them. Like you had 1 spell in the or I shouldn't say spell, 1 ability in your drone tree where like every 15 seconds your drone would just carpet bomb with a grenade, and then you had 1 in the digiclone tree where like when you switch places, you and your clone would drop grenades. So it's like you just get everything.
Do you know if it takes the effect of the grenade mod as well, or is it just like a basic grenade that it drops?
No, it would be the grenade mod.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Almost definitely. I mean, but
Mhm.
I don't know for sure. I didn't actually get that far down in the tree, but almost definitely. That's what
Yeah.
it usually has been in Borderlands games.
Yeah, that's
So
like to
on
check
paper,
it. Pretty sure that
yeah.
that you're right there with it taking the mod.
hmm So on paper, Zane does seem like he's going to be just an insane powerhouse once you hit endgame. But at the same time, we don't know what grenade mods are in Borderlands 3 yet. And yeah, like say the fastball. Fastball is just amazing. It's super fun. And would I want to give up a fastball for one of his action abilities? Obviously, I haven't experimented with the in-game stuff for him, so maybe that is the case, or it might be the case that I'd rather be able to chuck fastballs. So yeah, it was interesting playing both. I'm definitely a Siren fan.
Okay.
And I used Amara's first ability, the Titan Slam, as Destiny players would call it, a lot, and that was great. And then towards the end, I got to use the other abilities, and I was really surprised at how well they just felt across the board in their basic form. Because, as you know, we had very little time to spec anything.
Sure.
I haven't even really looked at the skill trees all that much because that's an overwhelming thing that I usually want to take my time with, right? Yeah, like in Theorycraft. So for me, the Amara was just 100% my favorite, and I'm going to be playing Amara day one. But I do see the end game potential of Zane, but it didn't feel as flashy or as fun.
Yeah,
in my opinion, right?
What
Yeah, like
about
Amara
the,
was just
augments.
visceral.
Because did you guys have a chance to check out a bunch of those? I only got to one augment with Amara, and it was the phase blast one where she healed her, I think 30% of her life whenever she landed the attack.
Yeah, 30% of the damage done goes back to health.
Yeah, that's what I was using too. It was surprising too, because like it was just going. I was like, oh, free health.
I think it's really good though, and
Using
maybe
my
you guys
ability.
will disagree because I know you Killer and Teft and Cowboy as well. You guys have all run through this game plenty of times, and I have as well, but maybe not to the extent of you guys. Where I thought this was a good augment personally, because one thing I always had an issue with in Borderlands is it almost encouraged you to go down because there were so little ways to increase your health at a certain point in the game that you might as well just go down, revive yourself, and get your half health at least. And so I like the idea of certain abilities regenning, but did you guys get a look at any other augments, and do you agree with my
No, there's a lot of diversity. Like that was one of the things I did is I went basically spent 20 minutes on each skill tree just going in depth in theory crafting. And there's a really good split. There's augments that are like that for more sustain. There's augments that are more focused around CC and locking down targets. There's there's augments that are just outright like pure damage boosters. So there's definitely, I mean, that's one of the things I think I'm most excited about with this game is, we're used to having one action skill and then we can like assign an element to it. Now we have an action skill, we can augment it in some way, we can assign an element to it, and with stuff like Amara doesn't have 3 action skills. She essentially has 9. Because you have like phase blast, you have the phase blast where it gets progressively more damage, or you have the phase blast where it just shits out elemental lasers. And it's like, dude,
that's wild, right?
So much personalization now. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, like those augments are going to be huge, and I'm wondering if there's going to be legendary class mods that are also going to change those augments as well.
Oh God!
On top of it,
God, dude.
I mean, that's pretty nuts, right?
Like,
the potential is just
like
enormous.
A good type of exciting because everyone's going to have an individual experience at the very least, even if you don't play the game over a bunch of times. It's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
So what do you got? I mean, I think one thing I'm interested in, because we haven't seen anything yet, but seeing how crazy both Amara and Zane were. I want to know what
the other characters.
Yeah, Flak and Mose are going to be like.
I'm so on board with Flak, man. I hope he is so good. I'll be so upset if he is not good.
Because that's my thing. I'm a whore for like pet type classes, and I'm like, this sounds like my jam here. But I love my sirens, and the hard decision to make.
I hope that all the other two are as interesting. Just straight up across the board. Like I want every action. Yeah, right. But I want them to knock it out of the park with every action skill being like, damn, I want to use this, but I want to use this. I want to use this.
See,
that's how I was feeling with Amara.
I feel like Flak's almost a given because the animals, or creatures rather, he sends out change based off his action skill. We already know that. So I feel like that's almost a given that they will have that one feeling unique and different from the rest of the characters, just because it seems like he's going to have more of a sit back and send your creature out approach rather than it seems like Zane and Amara, which are more getting the action. We don't know much about Moze other than she calls in pretty much her own Titan. But yeah, that'll be dope in its own
Stand by
right.
for Titanfall.
Yeah, literally, though.
Do you guys think that they're going to add new characters like they did with the previous games over time?
I would
DLC
imagine
characters?
so.
They,
'Cause they kind of hinted at having some pretty big DLC plans towards the end of the like presentation reveal.
Mhm.
So I bet we're gonna. My guess is we're gonna see 2 big chunks of DLC. I bet we're gonna start level 50, and they're gonna take the 61-72 approach and add 2 additional characters.
Yeah, Randy Pitchford just said on Twitter, he responded to someone asking about DLC characters like in the pre-sequel and in Borderlands 2, and he said that according to data, all right, this was the crazy part, according to data, more people would prefer expanding on the existing Vault Hunters skill trees rather than adding new ones. You know, they said obviously they hadn't made a decision yet, but he was saying on his Twitter account that pretty much more people would rather them expand on what's already there.
So like adding like a 4th tree, or just
yeah,
more skill?
presumably like adding a 4th tree, which
I don't know.
I mean,
think that would
from
be crazy.
experience, from experience, you know, I like the idea, but if we're already talking about how overwhelming it looks from the outside, oh my god, look at all
Yeah.
these skills, all this shit we got to balance, and then you're adding a 4th tree, which is good, because you know, let's say someone comes in late, gets the Game of the Year edition, which a lot of people pick up Borderlands late and get all the DLC and characters combined for $60. You know, that'll be cool for them to have a 4th tree to pick from, but I just like the idea of a new character. But I had a couple of theories as to why they would do this, and my first one was more so that they added dialogue in for the main characters, and they'd have to redo all the story dialogue for the speakers end.
Yeah, new
Yep,
voice
a lot of
acting, new
Yeah.
lines.
And the other one was, I remember hearing this of all games, Skyrim, because I just made a video on this, so that's why it's like fresh off the top of my head. And I remember Skyrim streamlining its systems in a way where you could be good at everything, because they started to look at data and see that players were less and less repeating playthroughs and trying different builds, like you would in Oblivion in 06, but now they start focusing on making your character this godlike figure. And I think without, you know, because obviously the characters already have a ton of replayability, you can tell that just by looking at the skill tree, but I think Gearbox is trying to streamline that a little bit more in their own way with the DLC and maybe add in skills. That's just my own
Or with
theories.
with the Guardian ranks too, potentially to grind out your character to these different levels.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, it's up to Gearbox to then add not just campaign DLC, but like interesting content in the existing world to make me want to stick with those characters to that absurd amount of time to grind out all those trees and see all those Guardian ranks and the impact they have on my character, and see why that build's worth my while.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel conflicted about them wanting to expand skill trees versus adding new characters.
Yeah,
I mean, I totally understand from a business perspective that, yeah, that's a big undertaking to have a new character, to have to redo all those lines, and if they do any DLC, they have to do all those lines as well and all that, so it makes sense. But
All right, that'll cap it off, ladies and gentlemen. That's about where the conversation about characters ends and a new topic begins. If you'd like to see the full thing, I know FightinCowboy will be posting the entire discussion on his channel, so I'll link that in the comments or in the description once he has his up, provided it's not up before mine. But anyway, we do hope you guys all enjoyed. Thank you so much for checking it out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that, as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.